Great, so whenever.
Okay. So we're gonna start letting people in. I'm gonna hide non-video participants. As soon as I can do that, and we're good to go. Okay. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Morgan Hopkins, and I am the Communications Director for the House Democratic Caucus. As you know, the stakes in Virginia are at an all-time high, especially when we're talking about protecting the fundamental rights and freedoms of all Virginians. We're incredibly excited to have a diverse slate of Democratic candidates coming out of last night's primaries who are ready to fight back against the harmful policies put into place by the Republican majority. For our program today, we'll have our speakers give some brief remarks, and then we'll turn to questions, and then we'll wrap up shortly after. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our first speaker, House Democratic Leader Don Scott.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being on the call. I am extremely excited. I hope you can see the giddiness in my voice and hear the giddiness in my voice and in my smile. So excited about the opportunities. Last night was a great night for Democrats. Just on the enthusiasm level alone, our races, House races particularly, averaged a lot higher turnout than our Republican counterparts. And our candidates are giving people not just something to vote against, but instead we're giving folks something to vote for. We're voting for our fundamental freedoms. We're just not talking the talk, we're walking the talk. We're gonna make sure that we protect women's reproductive health care. We're gonna make sure that we have an economy that works for everybody. We're gonna make sure that we're doing the things necessary to win this election. We're raising money, our candidates are doing doors, energy level is high. We have some very competitive races. As Democrats, we're gonna be coming together so that we can fight back against the MAGA extremism of Governor Youngkin. I think it's of note that I guess Governor Youngkin knew it would be a bad night for them last night. He was in Paris instead of here paying attention to the primaries here that was going on in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We know that he has international aspirations and national aspirations, and he's not doing the things that we think he needs to do. But we know that the energy that we have, the candidates that we have a cross section of great candidates, business people, community, folks who've been invested in communities, pastors, priests, folks business people, attorneys who are ready to get us to the next level. So we look forward to winning this November. We think we have the winning formula and the winning message this November. I think we have a very easy and strong case against the Republicans being led by the former President Trump and the MAGA extremism, attacking voting rights, banning books, attacking children in classrooms. And we think that we're on the right path. We know that the governor has proposed giving away $1 billion a year to corporations and tax cuts. He's not looking out for Virginia families. And that's what we plan on doing this cycle, letting folks know and alerting them to the fact that the Republicans are not looking out for everyday hardworking Virginians, and Democrats will be. Also, while we're protecting fundamental freedoms for women and making sure that we do everything we can to tell Virginia's full history and make sure that we are inclusive of everyone. So with that, I think we're going to turn it over to our caucus chair, Delegate Caucus Chair Herring. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Leader, and thank you everybody for being on with us today. As the leader mentioned, we do have a new slate of candidates, and they're made up of Democrats who are working to protect the rights and freedoms of hardworking Virginians everywhere. We have educators, healthcare workers, veterans, faith leaders, and parents on our slate who are the true representation of the diversity and the culture in our Commonwealth. Our candidates have been spending time in their communities and are ready to be on the front lines, pushing back against extremism. The general election starts today. There's no question about it. And our candidates are working to protect the rights and freedoms of hardworking Virginians. The stakes are high, and I would say that they're even higher than before, especially when it comes to abortion, guns, and protecting democracy from MAGA extremism. We are going to have to take back the House. It is a must. The Republicans of Virginia will not be satisfied until those who refuse to subscribe to their MAGA extremist views do not have a voice in our Commonwealth. Think about it. With North Carolina and South Carolina proposed abortion bans, Virginia is now the only state legislature in the South that has not passed new restrictions on abortion following the Dobbs decision from the Supreme Court. In 2020, I successfully carried the legislation that repealed the harmful abortion restrictions imposed by Republicans in our state. I fought my entire career in the General Assembly to protect a woman's reproductive freedom. We have seen what Republicans have done in the past to restrict abortion access in Virginia. They passed legislation to make it harder for women to get the care that they need, and they have repeatedly tried to pass legislation to ban abortion in every legislative session in the past several years. The only way to stop the GOP agenda from becoming law and to help us protect fundamental rights of all Virginia families is to continue to elect Democrats committed to taking up this fight and to take back the House this November. Thank you again for joining us. And I will turn it over to our House Caucus Whip, Carrie Delaney.
Thank you, Chair Herring. Thank you, Leader Scott. And thank you all for being here today, this morning. Good morning. I'm so excited. We have this incredible slate of Democrats who are community leaders, and they are ready to stand up to MAGA extremists. Now, I know the pressure of flipping a seat. Back in 2017, I flipped a seat from red to blue. I know it's not easy. I know it's a lot of work, but I am absolutely confident that we have what it takes in this slate of Democrats elected in primaries last night to take back the House in November, because Republicans are putting their MAGA beliefs over the issues that we know Virginians care about. And our whole job is to listen to our constituents. But the MAGA extremists in the Virginia GOP have shown their willingness to just absolutely trample on the rights of Virginians. We have seen them voting to uphold the ban on same-sex marriage and just absolutely refusing to even come to the table to discuss solutions on gun violence that would keep our children safe. So a GOP majority will simply take Virginia backwards, and Democrats must take back the majority in November. This will ensure that our children have the best opportunity and future possible.
Thank you, Delegate Delaney, and to all of our speakers. I'm going to open us up to questions now. Please use the raise hand function to ask a question, and then limit it to one question at a time in the interest of time. I do ask that if you're not speaking, that you do remain muted. And then when called on, can you please unmute, state your name and your outlet. And once your question is concluded, please go back on mute. So with that, let's get started with Bill.
Thank you. Thank you, Morgan. This is Bill Atkinson with the Progress Index in Petersburg. I open this question to everyone on the panel right now. Last night, the 82nd House District race was shaped up for to be sort of like a Kim versus Kim race on this, and I want to ask the Democratic leaders here, how are you rating this particular race in the 82nd campaign against Kim Taylor? Do you see her as being vulnerable in the election?
I am going to pose that question to Leader Scott.
Yeah, I have it. Yeah, thank you for that question. I think all of these races are going to be tough. That is definitely a targeted race for us. We like our numbers. We think that she has been extreme with the MAGA extremism with Governor Youngkin. She has, Delegate Taylor has stuck with them on banning abortion. She has stuck with them on providing corporate tax cuts to folks who didn't ask for them. I think that race with Kimberly Adams Pope will be an excellent gauge of where we are. We feel very grateful to have a great candidate like Kimberly Adams Pope, a working mom who we believe will resonate with that community. She's from Dinwiddie. So we believe that is that's going to be a highly contested race, but I'd rather have my hand in her hand right now. I think that's going to be a good race.
Okay, do we have another question? Tyler?
This is Tyler Englander from 8 News in Richmond. We've seen it a little bit in the Senate races and a couple in the House of younger, more progressive Democrats knocking off some incumbents. Are you concerned that, people who might be a little bit more further left could hamper Democrats' ability when it comes to the general election?
Delegate Delaney, do you want to take that one?
Sure, I'm happy to take that. I mean, I think that what we're hearing when we listen to our constituents is that, there is a huge concern about the extreme MAGA agenda that is coming for Virginians and is just absolutely opposed to the values that most Virginians have made it very clear that they stand for. So I think that the issue that's going to be before voters is, the promise of what a Democratic majority will bring in terms of protecting the freedoms and the rights of Virginians versus the extreme MAGA agenda that we have seen what happens. And we will see the campaign promises are going to be made on the other side that will simply take Virginia backwards. And I think that that's the decision that voters are going to be looking at in November is, do we want Virginia to go forward with the Democrat majority, or do we want Virginia to go backwards where our rights and freedoms are trampled and that Virginians' values are simply not being heard?
And Sarah, you have the next question.
Hey, good morning. Thanks, everyone. We saw more primaries in this cycle on the Democratic side, and that was mainly in the House, but I wondered if, in the Senate, but I wondered if somebody could speak to whether there's any concern about whether the spending that went into the primaries in the run up to yesterday could diminish the party's standing moving into the general election cycle.
All right. Honestly, for me, and I think there's no concern, because the reality is it's a restart, right? We had our primaries, we're heading into the general, and this is going to be again, the elections are won on the ground. This is our candidates hitting the doors, talking to voters, and so we're just going to have to work hard. These are the competitive races, but I feel confident that we can pull through.
And Sarah, I want to add one thing. Thank you for that question. What it shows is that there is a robust energy around democracy. Democracy itself is on the ballot. There are people who are afraid of what is going on in this country right now. And just because people are raising their hand and they have a different view, at the end of the day, we're all Democrats. We're all going to be united. We're going to move together as a team. What happened during the primaries is what is supposed to happen. You have a vigorous debate over ideas and approach. But at the end of the day, democracy itself is on the ballot. Women's reproductive health care freedom is on the ballot. Virginia is the last safe haven in the South. And those things won't change because we had robust and competitive primaries.
Thank you both.
Do we have another question? Bill, please feel free.
I'm sorry, did you say me?
Yes, sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. I wanted to ask, let's open this to anyone on the call too. Last night in some of the primaries, we saw essentially the rebirth of two what were considered rising stars in the Democratic Party, and LaSharice Aird and Jennifer Carroll Foy. all of y'all having worked with them in the past, I wondered if any of you wanted to have a comment on either LaSharace's or Jennifer's victory last night.
I'd be happy to comment. I served with both of them, as you recognize. They're incredible. They work hard, and last night it showed with their results. That is an energy and about them. And they certainly are going to be exciting to watch as they win their general elections and come back into the legislature. But I think that it's clear that, you know, as their past career, they have been strong legislators, strong on policy, and they're a credit to our Democratic Party. And I'm looking forward to their return.
Okay, we have time for maybe one or two more questions. Graham.
Leader Scott, since you mentioned the governor being in Paris yesterday, we're seeing Youngkin's folks kind of make a big deal out of him going 10 for 10 in his endorsements. What are your thoughts on what yesterday's results tell us about the governor's standing in Virginia?
He went 10 for 10 on the Republican side. I mean, that should not be a surprise. He's the dang leader of the party, allegedly. So, I mean, hopefully that should not be a surprise. Ask him how he did in those gubernatorial races last year. Didn't do very well. So we'll see what happens if he can go 10 for 10 in his endorsements in the general election. So I think he has some more work to do, but we do know that he's raising money from all over the place, out of state. He's taking money from the Nazi sympathizers. What's the gentleman's name? Harlan somebody. Crow, he's taking money from him. So we know that he'll take money from anywhere to continue to advance this extreme agenda. And so I'm not surprised, but I wouldn't be bragging about winning some primary races when we have so much more work to do. His agenda so far has stalled. He has not been named huge accomplishments that he's made. He has not been a successful governor so far. And so at the end of the day, we'll see what happens in November.
Okay, we have a question in the chat from Brian. Brian, you please feel free to unmute, but if you could please limit it to one question, in the interest of time, that would be great.
Oh, hi. Found the button there. Okay, I'll stick with the one on the Salim Peterson race there. What do you all think were the biggest factors in that race that knocked off a longtime incumbent?
That question might be better directed to some Senate leadership. We're over in the House. So if you have a question regarding that, I think you had another question on what do we define as MAGA extremists. I can give you that. MAGA extremism is when you want to ban abortion, when you want to take us back on voting rights. Literally, several of you can go look these quotes up, several of their candidates literally said Democrats are making it too easy to vote in Virginia. That's what MAGA extremism looks like. They want to take us backwards on voting. We have a governor who is preventing returning citizens from getting their rights restored arbitrarily. That's what MAGA extremism looks like. We have a House of Delegates that killed 12 common sense gun violence bills. That's what MAGA extremism looks like. We had a governor who has yet to accept $5 million in federal funding that would help to help implement our red flag laws. That's what MAGA extremism looks like. So we feel very comfortable in our positions on gun violence. We have a governor who lost $200 million towards our educational system, making sure that our public education system was fully funded. That's what MAGA extremism looks like. They're taking their eyes off the ball, not governing, so busy focused on banning books and other classroom culture wars and bullying a few LGBTQ kids that feel safe in schools, that they are losing sight of the big picture in governing and delivering for Virginians.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, thank you, Mr. Leader, Madam Chair, and Delegate Delaney for taking the time to speak with us. Thank you for everyone who attended today's press conference. If you have any additional questions you would like to ask, please feel free to reach out to me. And then please look out for additional communications from us throughout the week, following this week's primaries and ahead of the Dobbs anniversary this Saturday. So with that, I just want to thank our speakers and have a good day, everyone.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank y'all. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.